This is a letter to the person I was supposed to become, the version of me that existed quietly in expectations, in plans that other people had, and in futures that felt reasonable on paper. You were never loud. You didn't demand attention. You simply waited patiently in the background of my life. I carried you with me for a long time without realizing it. In conversations, in choices, in moments when someone asked what I wanted to be, or the answer that felt safest. The answer that made sense. The answer that avoided uncomfortable silence. And for a while I believed that becoming you was the same thing as becoming successful. I remember how clearly people could describe you, even when I couldn't. They spoke about you with confidence, about your stability, your routine, your predictable milestones. You had a timeline. You had labels that were easy to explain. You fit neatly into stories others already understood, and I listened. Not because I didn't have doubts, but because it felt easier to borrow certainty than to admit confusion. You weren't a dream. You were an expectation. It's carefully shaped by advice, comparisons, and well-meaning concern. And slowly, without noticing, I began mistaking approval for direction. There were moments when I tried to imagine living fully as you, waking up inside that life, repeating the same days, carrying responsibilities that looked impressive from the outside. Sometimes it felt calm, other times it felt strangely heavy, not painful, just dull, wearing clothes that fit perfectly, but never quite felt like mine. I told myself discomfort was normal, that everyone feels this way, that fulfillment comes later. So I kept moving forward, even when something inside me stayed quiet instead of excited. I didn't know then that silence can also be a form of resistance. At some point, I began hesitating, not dramatically, just small pauses, slight delays, questions I never said out loud. I noticed how often I needed reassurance just to keep going. How often I searched for signs that I was doing the right thing. And the more I tried to convince myself, the more distant you became. You didn't disappear. You simply stopped feeling inevitable. And that scared me more than failure ever could. Because if I didn't become you, then I had to admit I didn't know who I was becoming instead. Walking away from you wasn't a single decision. It was a series of quiet refusals. Moments where I chose uncertainty over certainty, discomfort over comfort, questions over answers. I didn't announce it. I didn't explain it well. I just slowly stepped off the path that led directly to you. And in doing so, I disappointed people who believed in that version of me. It's not because they were wrong, but because they were imagining a future I could no longer carry. I learned that sometimes the bravest choice isn't ambition, it's honesty. There are days I still think about you, about the life that would have been easier to justify. It's easier to explain at family gatherings, easier to defend in conversations about progress. You came with fewer questions, fewer raised eyebrows. Sometimes I miss that simplicity. I miss how clear everything looked from that direction. Letting you go felt like losing a map. Even now, there are moments when I wonder if I made things harder than they needed to be. If choosing uncertainty was selfish. If clarity was something I should have protected more carefully. But I'm beginning to understand something I didn't back then. Becoming who I was supposed to be would have meant abandoning parts of myself quietly over time. Not all at once. Just enough to stay functional. Just enough to stay acceptable. I don't think that kind of loss shows up immediately. It shows up years later as restlessness, as resentment. It's the feeling of living someone else's definition of enough. Success, I've learned, isn't about fitting into a future that looks impressive. It's about recognizing which futures slowly erase you. I don't blame the version of me who almost became you. That person was trying to survive, trying to belong, trying to do things the right way. They didn't lack courage, they lacked permission. Permission to choose differently without fully understanding why. Permission to trust discomfort as information. I wish I could tell them that confusion isn't failure. Not knowing doesn't mean you're behind. That it's okay to disappoint expectations that were never truly yours, but growth rarely comes with reassurance. It comes with risk, taken quietly, without applause. You were never a mistake. You were a possibility. It's one of many. And choosing not to become you doesn't mean I wasted time. It means I learned something about myself by standing close to the edge of that life. Close enough to feel its weight. Close enough to step away before it became permanent. I don't reject you. I simply release you. With respect, with gratitude, without regret, because you helped me understand what I value, not by being wrong, but by being incomplete. So this is not an apology. It's not a goodbye filled with drama. It's a quiet acknowledgement to who I was supposed to be. Thank you for showing me a path I could walk, and for reminding me that I had a choice. I didn't become you, not because you weren't good enough, but because becoming myself required something different, something less certain, something more honest. And maybe that's what living is. It's not fulfilling every expectation placed on us, but choosing the ones we're willing to live inside, day after day, without losing ourselves.